The first thing I get to do, finally, now that all of the Nala stuff is out there in the open, we find out that she's doing a fake ministry online where she's going to help you heal your family and marriage and all this. This chick who was literally a OnlyFans mere months ago. Remember that after I entangled with her and called out all of this stupid and her false theology and the fact that this was all a grift, that many so-called Christians came after me and they wanted to dress me down because the females in their audiences had decided that I was the intellectual face of evil. So that's exactly what they did. But now I get to respond to some of these now that all the facts are in my corner, just like they were then. Let's listen to this idiot as he tries to dress me down.
A correction from a yes.
Yes, that's true. I'm not going to take, and this is, I do have a hardline stance on this. I don't take life correction from whores, and I don't do it. And I would not recommend anybody ever take life correction from.
So my thing is too, you want to talk about lying, and then
for 6 months. You were 6 months ago. Now you're going to what the Bible says.
8 months ago.
8 months.
Real.
8 months.
8 months ago.
I'm not going to take correction.
Wait, Andrew.
6 months ago. That's insane.
You know what I would.
By the way, I just want to point out, I still refuse to take correction from somebody who was a 6 months ago. I refuse.
8 months ago, bro.
Yeah,
8 months ago. My bad. I'm way off base. Okay, way off base here. But
that 2 months makes a big difference. Man.
Makes a big difference. Yeah, I just kind of refuse to do that. I know, out of control. Now let's watch as this dorky pastor who gives his flock the cheese pizzas, he tells them how to be nice and the fruits of the spirit, comes after me and demands that I take correction instead from him.
Would say then, if you're not going to take correction from her or anyone, okay, I get it, but take correction from me.
No.
Ooh.
Let me unequivocally tell this stupid dork, no. I'm not going to take correction from you because all you're going to do is defend this absolute of a theological mess named Nala Ray, who kept her name into the mainstream of her Christian entrance.
The attitude of which you're showing right now does not demonstrate the attitude of Christ.
See, it's all tone policing every time.
He went to a woman who was caught in the act, and all the Pharisees wanted to stone her, and he said, "Get up, go sin no more."
Why do they always sound like they've just woken up? Constantly woken up.
Well, because all of it is sometimes they have a certain teaching inflection. You learn it at stupidprotestant.com. The teaching inflection is something akin to, I want to virtue signal and sound to you as though I'm very pious, whether I am pious or I'm not pious. I just don't give pretenses, right? I just don't give pretenses. I just say exactly what it is that's on my mind and the truth, and I know that that's very upsetting to people. The reason, one, that this analogy doesn't work correctly is because nobody was trying to stone this chick. She was able to give an account in defense of herself, and it was a massive failure because she denied the Trinity, and she said she was not a minister and then went off to form a ministry, exactly as predicted. The problem with people like this, and the Michael Knowles of the world are just exactly the same way. You do have an obligation to also protect your own flock. Because so many of these people came and rushed to this chick's defense at the behest of stupid women. At the behest of stupid women, they came in to defend this chick because they wanted the attaboys. They wanted the nice pat on the head by their dumb broads in their congregation. So they could be like, "Oh, thank you, Pastor Dan. Thank you, Pastor Chuck. It's so nice of you to tell people." They wanted the attaboys and the pats on the head. And so that's why they vehemently, instead of saying, "Hey, how about a little bit of time of reflection? And how about before you rush into the mainstream limelight with a false theological message, we take a little time here to vet you and make sure that your message is clear and make sure that what you're pushing theologically is sound." They didn't do that. Instead, they grabbed her and walked her through the marketplace as she screamed, "Jesus healed me of my demons." And these dummies let her in to corrupt their own flock. So, no, not only am I not going to take correction from you, but I have a message for you, sir. You put me full screen, Mr. E, so we can make sure he gets this. Make it simple for you, Pastor Doofus. You are stupid. You are called in Christianity, true, to preach the gospel. You're called in Christianity to convert all nations. What you're not called to do in Christianity is be. You're not called to be stupid. And my biggest problem with all of you people is just how stupid you are. For some reason, this idea that the fruits of the Spirit have to equal complete ignorance to the world around you is absurd. The fact that you think that the fruits of the Spirit equal niceness is absurd. The truth is that now this chick is off spreading this false gospel, being promoted by conservative in groups like TPUSA and others because of you, because you were so stupid that you actually allowed this to happen. Why? Where are you called to be a moron? Did God call you to be a moron? Did he say, look, one thing you should do is be really stupid? I don't think he did. So maybe in the future, before you do your knee-jerk reaction saying, listen to me about your faith in the Spirit, just try to remember that I've been at this an awful long time, dealing with some of the most horrific and evil people you can imagine. And I know them inside and out because of how often I've dealt with them. So maybe in the future, you should take some correction and just sit there and shut your mouth, you drooling idiot, and stop leading people astray. How about that? Can we start with that? So anyway, that's my response to this critic.
I think Mr. E was playing with his relief stick again.
Yeah, I think he was.
And loved
It was
her.
unplanned.
Even if what you're saying is true, and I'm not.
Who cares if it's
agreeing
unplanned?
to that either.
Heaven
How
forbid a
you're
white boy get 5 seconds to
communicating
queue
it
up a
out
seat.
of
Look at this tone policing idiot.
the heart, the
Communicating out
mouth
the heart.
speaks.
Yes, and in my heart, I knew that she was a heretical lunatic who was trying to grift off the good graces of Christians. And you're so stupid, all you could think of was that my tone wasn't very nice. Because some woman patted you on the head and said, thanks, Pastor Dan, for saying that. It really uplifted me. I'm going to go downstairs now and get the pizza party going.
There is no love for any of the people that he's
The
talking
problem
to,
is like they don't know what love means. They think they think that correction isn't love. They think that when you get pushback from a willful lunatic that you're just supposed to sit there and take it. They don't even know what it means. This guy makes me sick. I can't even stand to look at his face anymore. Next critic, please. Next critic.
He is, but I guess I just don't see the value in being good at debating if you're spreading
So the
something.
question is asked to her, is Andrew Wilson a good debater?
Out in the Spirit what the life of Christ is.
I'd admit objectively Andrew Wilson is good at debating.
Would you admit objectively Andrew Wilson's good at debate? Now, remember, Farah, we had a viral clip of her being extremely confused when I explained to her force doctrine.
He is, but I guess I just don't see the value in being good at debating if you're spreading something that sucks. I feel like the whole point of debate is it's a means to an end. Like it's a tool to try and like push forward an ideology you actually.
And she's pushing forward the ideology of, and somehow the ideology that I push sucks. The ideology of is what matters. I'm a good debater, sure, but if you push an ideology that Farah disagrees with, therefore it's worthless to be a good debater.
And there's no point in being a good debater, even though she just said it's a means to an end. So the means to your end would be being a good debater.
Yeah.
So then that would be
to
a useful
push the
thing to do.
ideology that you don't like.
Actually believe in and think is good for society. I think if you put Andrew Wilson on a polygraph, I think he's 100% in it for like the blood sport.
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, he even has in his bio like blood sports debater.
So you don't think
You know what's really funny is like with all corrupting and stupid lies, usually there has to be a grain of truth there to push what the lie is. Is it true that I enjoy blood sport debating? No doubt. There's zero doubt about it. But is the reason that I do this because I enjoy blood sport debating? No. Just because you happen to be really good at something that reinforces your ideology doesn't mean the reason that you're pushing your ideology is because you don't believe your ideology.
actually believes what he's debating on?
No, of course not, because one, he again like purports traditional values. His current family situation isn't the most traditional. But that's
What's really funny is she doesn't understand what traditional values even are, nor the traditional values which are pushed. Instead, she says, well, you married a single mom, so no traditional values. There's none. There's no traditional values there. Not even understanding what that traditional values are moving towards the idea of cultural virtue. That's what we're talking about. It's cultural virtue. We're not purists. We're not, don't never drink alcohol. You can never smoke a cigarette. Nobody's saying anything like that. We're talking about cultural virtue. That's it. They don't even understand what the values are that we're trying to push. And so when they hear these words like traditional, what do they think that that means? Well, for
I think
them,
that
what,
they think that it
yeah.
means it's like a white picket fence, like 1950s type family.
Yeah, well, they think that it has to do with some angst to marry virgins or some like this. Has nothing at all to do with that. It has to do with a society which is driven by virtue. That's it, virtue. That doesn't require some like crazy purity testing. And these people don't even understand. They don't even understand what the arguments are. And what makes me sick is like this chick has actually texted me and said, like, basically asked me, do you actually believe this? And I said, yes, of course. And I'll reinforce the argument. So what she's actually pissed off about is that there was a group of doxers that she was going on tour with, basically. And as long as she was working with those doxers, I wasn't going to debate with her again, even though I will usually debate with anybody multiple times. And that I think that it just made her upsetty spaghetti. So
The thing with a lot of these traditionalists is I feel like TradCon is honestly just red pill in sheep's clothing. Even Ben Shapiro has said, like, with Andrew Tate, like, I agree with his diagnoses, but I disagree with his prescriptions. I'm like, how could you agree with his diagnoses? His diagnoses in themselves are like gender hierarchy. And he says, women are like this, they want a man who's like this. They're happier when they submit and, being at home and stuff.
what does that have to do with me? Notice the bait and switch. Even Ben Shapiro has said blah, blah, blah. I don't care what Ben Shapiro has said. The question was about me. And then immediately pivots over to Andrew Tate. You'll see this often happens when people are trying to give a criticism of me. They do this sneaky little pivot where what they'll do is they'll say, Andrew Wilson is X, Y, and Z. And then they'll pivot over and say, here's what Andrew Tate says. And here's some other conservative commentator who agrees with what Andrew Tate says. What does that have to do with me?
Yeah.
It has nothing at all to do with me. Now,
Lucky
anyway,
you're not there, eh?
yeah.
You
So,
and Andrew Tate believe all the same things, right?
yeah, exactly. We believe all the same things. Most
Exactly the same.
ridiculous I ever heard.
You're the same guy, basically.
So anyway, that aside, my critics are stupid. They've always been stupid, and they're always going to be stupid. They can't even characterize the positions that I have correctly. So